Hi, everybody. This is Cheryl with Tutoring with Cheryl and the Tech Coach for Tutors. And I have a growing membership group where my tutors are learning how to run a business online. And I just met with Kylie. Hi, Kylie. And we did not push the record button, but we talked about some things that I think are really beneficial for all tutors. And so I just wanted to take a couple minutes to hop on here to have you do some reflecting about if you're just getting started, some things that you might want to consider. One of the very first things that Kylie and I visited about was how is she going to market? And she was spot on. She is going to market to her local community. She's a former high school instructor turned elementary reading interventionist, and she's going to be supporting reading students. And she has limited time that she's available because she's got younger children. And so her availability is a little bit limited, but she knows she's really good at teaching reading. So we've got that. We know what we're supporting. We know who we're supporting. We know how we're supporting, but we need some practice and we need some confidence with that. So when we hopped into the meeting, I just went through some strategies for her, and we were talking about, she has a plan of action for where she's going to hang up her flyers. She's already started a YouTube page where she's doing some videos and she's sharing them out on her YouTube page, which I think is absolutely brilliant. And she's already got views on them, which is absolutely incredible because for some of us, it takes a long time to get views. So kudos to you, Kylie, for being so proactive about this. Okay, the next thing that we talked about was resources as far as like your tutoring, what you're going to use. And so she and I are both reading tutors. So this made this quite simple to talk about because we have something in common. But even if I've got a member in the Tech Hub for Tutors that isn't teaching the same things, we can still think about the tools that you have that are handy that are going to help to make your job easier. It would be great to say that you are going to lesson plan and create everything from scratch. The truth of the matter is that it just takes a long period of time to create something specific for every single student. So we started to talk about the tools that she had, and one of the tools that we both share in common is the Youth Life Foundations. And this is an absolutely wonderful resource. And one thing I didn't mention to Kylie, which I'm going to say here, is that these tools can be used with older students who struggle. If you do some sort of a short assessment where they read and they have to do some writing, and you notice that their spelling is not that great, but they're a wonderful reader, just focus on the spelling patterns that are taught in here. Don't worry about the fluency part that's in there and really focus on that. And I just made another recording that I'm going to upload as well about creating a resource inside of Canva for when students don't quite fit the curriculum that you have. So that will be also posted very, very soon. And you can go take a look at how I use ChatGPT and then Canva to create this resource, which I'm still working on. And again, that's something you want to make something that more than one student can use. So keeping in mind that you might be making it for this one student, but could somebody else actually use it? That way you're not spending countless hours supporting one student, because you have to remember you're only getting paid for the hours that you're actually teaching that student. So when we spend a lot of time prepping, it's kind of you're losing money. Honestly, I mean, that's the reality of it. So I am working on something for this student in mind, but something that somebody else could eventually use. And when I was teaching and going to people's homes, I kept thinking, oh, I'll make these things, I'll laminate them. And then that wasn't always the case. But spelling is something more than one student can benefit from. And so I'm making this spelling unit. So it's like this year-long practice page that any student could use. It might take me a whole year to get it done. I don't know. We also talked about other things that were available. Since she is a reading tutor, she wanted to know a little bit more about reading comprehension. So I just showed her that I buy books in my Kindle. And then on your computer, you just go to before I state that wrong, let me just go double check this. Yeah, read.amazon.com, and your library will show up. Now, if you've got books in there for yourself that aren't like appropriate for little kids to see, make sure that you open up the book before you share the screen. And I only share the tab. Okay, I share the tab, and I have the text quite large on the screen. And for me, I set the text as white text on a black background. It just kind of seems to work better than the white text with the black words, because the page just kind of shrinks somehow. And it's easier for my students who struggle to read to kind of keep their place. So they do practice with a black background. But if anybody ever wants to change it, we can change it to the different colors that are there. Another nice thing about the Kindle app is you can highlight in the book and then add a little note to where the student was at. And then the next time you open it up, if you've got multiple students that are reading in that book, you just go over to your comments, your annotations, and you can click right on that and get back right back to where that student was. You just have to erase it. Make sure that you delete that comment and that highlight. Okay, so that's something super simple that you can do with books that you're purchasing. And for me, if I purchase a book that is $7.99, I'm going to make that money back by tutoring one student. So, but I'm using it with multiple students. And so I try to purchase books that can work for more than one student. If I'm only purchasing books that work with one student, that's not a great plan. So think about the students that you have, but when you're first getting started, you only have that one student. So try to get classics, books that they're going to want to read, books that can be found inside of, their local library, and books that stay clear of any kind of thematic things that could create tension if you're using them. So, for example, some of the books that I've used are like Calendar Mysteries by Ron Roy. I believe that's who the author is. Where the Red Fern Grows by Roland. I should have this up. I can't remember his name. Roland is part of his name. I'm going to be using, I'm just going to pull it up because I can't even come up with them why can't I come up with these? And this is all for you. And I can't remember. So I will just pull them up. Okay. So read.amazon. So the books that I currently have for kids. Oh, this is so much easier if I just look at it. Okay. I've got My Mouth is a Volcano because I had some students that were really struggling with interrupting. So we talked about that. What's Wrong with Sally? That was written by a good friend of mine, John Molzon. The Culvert Spaceship by another friend, Pamela J. Mulliken. A to Z Mysteries by Ron Roy. I've got Where the Red Fern Grows by Wilson Rawls. There we go. Tales of a Fourth Grade Nothing by Judy Bloom. And now I've got a student who is a very high reader. And so we are going to be reading The Mysterious Benedict Society by Trenton Lee Stewart. Okay, so those are the books that I have in my library. But I've also used Charlotte's Web and some other books as well. The Lemonade Stand. Is it The Lemonade Stand? I can't remember the name of it, but I didn't have it. I used a different resource for that. Oh, I wish I could remember, but I've used that. And so when the students are reading, we're reading, but then we might also write about the book or we talk about the book for reading comprehension. And the other thing that I talked with Kylie about was that we have to have a mind shift. We're no longer the teacher. We're now the supporter. We're filling in the gaps. So our lessons are going to look different. They're not going to be structured like a small group lesson in a classroom. You're working one-on-one. It's almost like the student is sitting right across the table from you and you're working individually with that student on what that student needs. So another thing that I pulled up was ReadWorks. ReadWorks is a great place to go for quick passages. And if you use Google Classroom, you can assign the work to the students in their Google Classroom, and you can have a finishing date on it as well. So that is something that I do use occasionally with my students. I don't use it all the time. It's just another tool in my toolbox. I also use IXL. I have a parent account. I can share the screen. I purchased reading and math, but my math students, about first part of sixth grade is when I end services with them because I cannot support what they're currently doing based on my own competence level and ability to quickly teach it. So what you'll find out is when you are tutoring students, at some point you max out on where you're willing to spend time preparing for a lesson. And that's usually about October is when I say, okay, I can't support the child based on the curriculum that they're using. If I'm only filling in gaps, I can continue to do that, but otherwise I just can't do it. And so then I just end services and then I send them on to trusted tutors that I know are math teachers. So that's the thing. I'm a trained elementary teacher, but I don't specialize in math. I tried to specialize in math and quickly found that based on the curriculums that were being used across the United States, that that was not a good fit for me. And so I have a ton of success working with students in reading, writing, and spelling. And so that's where I hang my hat, and I'm very happy to do it. But my current students that go up to 5th grade, the first part of 6th grade, I will definitely help them with their math when necessary. Like one of my 2nd graders is working on counting up to 500, or maybe it's 1,000, I can't remember. But we started counting up to 100 last night. So at the end of her lesson, I said, all right, you go get your paper and we're going to start counting. And as a matter of fact, I still have my whiteboard here. It probably has a little smudging on it, but I was counting right along with her. So we practice those skills together, and you can totally use whiteboards. You can get a document camera, and you could use a book that you have laid right out in front of you. I just choose not to do that because I know that at some point I'm going to be traveling, and I'm just going to be taking either my computer with me, or I'm going to just be taking my tablet with me, and I do not want to have all those other things. So for me, the goal is to always have the resources that are online that I can quickly screen share and share links to my students. And so those are the things that I focus on. I also shared with her education.com. She was delighted at what that would do. You can do interactive worksheets with students. You can download things. I pulled something up in the Cami app to show her how one of my 3rd graders that's going into 4th grade is working on some writing skills in it. And then you can also, there's also great worksheets that are already built into it, but when the students send you their homework, you can just upload it into Cami, and then you can write on the screen and the student can write on the screen, but the student actually has their physical paper there. I did a lot of that during the school year, and I know I will be repeating that. So those were the things that I was supporting Kylie with today as we met for about 45 minutes. She is a member of the Tech of Her Tutor. She says she's been binge watching everything. And then I told her, hey, I got something coming out about a virtual open house. And she was like, what? I want more. And so for the Tech of Her Tutors, I'm recording this on August 15th. In about 2 weeks or so, the first part of September, I'm going to be releasing a virtual open house. Now, I'm going to try it. I don't know if it will work. I don't know if my parents will show up. I am going to have an incentive for my parents that if you show up to this virtual open house on this day at this time with your child, you will get a free lesson. Okay, and the reason I want them to come is number one, I want them to interact with other kids that are getting services through Tutoring with Sheryl. But I also want the parents to meet the other families and to feel confident that they're working with a professional that has plenty of students that are working with them to meet their goals. And I want to give them an opportunity to talk about, what are the successes that your child has met with? What are some things that we still need to work on? And how can I help to implement that? Is it resources that I need to provide you with? Is it taking time to teach the parents something, doing some sort of a parent forum for them? Whatever that happens to be, I'm open to suggestions. And currently, I work with all of my students online, but I do recognize that there is a need for in-person lessons. And I was just talking to actually my neighbor who is in between jobs, and she really wants to work for the school system. And I said, you know what? Maybe you and I should partner together to do something like before school tutoring or after school tutoring on a certain night and do it in town. And I'm actually really kind of gearing it towards before school because that's when I'm available. And maybe she would want to try the after school. I'm not sure. But there's a couple of small businesses in town that we might be able to pay some low rent to see if we can get this off the ground. So that's another thing that I'm toying with. I'm not just focusing all of my efforts online because I do recognize that there are some things that we could be working on outside of my just here in my office. Here I am in my little office talking to you. This is where I do all my tutoring. And so just trying to make it more accessible for people who don't have computers, don't have tablets, don't have good internet. All of those things can be factors when we are considering how we're going to go about doing our business. I'm going to end with one more resource that I mentioned to Kylie that I think many of you would want to know about. I love the fact that she already has her website ready to go, and she can book through her Wix website. And I'm going to say, if it works for you, keep it. I use Tutorbird because I'm paying for the Tutorbird services. I switched over to the website. I do all of my communications through there with my families. It's just been so easy just to have everything in one space. But she signed up for 2 weeks for free, which is wonderful. And that's great. Sign up for your 2 weeks, check it out, see if it's something that you think that you can get value from. If it's not something that you can get value from, then you just don't, you just say end services, I don't want to use it. I personally did not sign up for Tutorbird until I had 5 students. Once I had 5 students, I found like I was spending a tremendous amount of time sending out my billing statements, and the ease of scheduling was getting a little bit more challenging with my Google Calendar. So what I found is by putting all of my scheduling inside of my Tutorbird and having it talk to my Google Calendar, that actually made it easier for me to see both on the personal side and on the business side exactly what lessons I had and what the expectations were for that day. Okay, this has been a whole lot. I hope that this has been helpful. I know that I'm really only speaking to my reading and writing tutors, but if there's something that you are struggling with as a math or a science tutor and you need support, I am so happy to help you with whatever that happens to be. And for reference, I want you to know that I was the science teacher for 5th grade for 32 years. So I do know a little bit about the science end of it. And I've always taught math. I always had math as the thing that I was teaching in the classroom as well. So I can support you. I can understand what you're going through. I get it. But you know, my expertise is elementary, and I will always be able to speak probably easier to the elementary crowd, but because I also tutor online, I know the struggle, I know what that looks like for you, I know the challenge, and I'm so excited to be bringing the Tech Hub for Tutors more information on this virtual open house. And so you guys are going to want to check back into the Tech Hub for more information on that. All right, I'm going to end the recording. Thanks for hanging out with me today, and I hope that this has been something that's been useful for you. Please make sure that if you found it helpful, leave a comment. You can always leave me a Google review. You can send me an email asking questions. And if you want to join the Tech Hub for Tutors, head over to tutoringwithcheryl.tutorbird.com and click on the Tech Hub for Tutors link, and I'll leave that in the description as well. Bye-bye.